Hi everybody, and welcome to CSC314 Assembly Language. I'm your instructor, Scott Graham, and this is going to be a brief introduction to the course. I had planned on more. Um, I'm not feeling well, tremendous waves of exhaustion, so I'm going to delay the initial video until tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully, after some sleep, I will be able to put together a better video for you than what I think I would do right now. So I just want to make this a quick hello and introduction to the course, and point you to one thing you can do on your own. And if you want to really get started ahead of me doing the first video, the first real video, I guess this is a video in and of itself. But what we're going to do is first I'm going to zoom in on these notes. A little bit more, just so it's more readable when you're watching the video. And talk a little bit about the course structure, how things are going to work, and point you in the direction of how you can get started. I'm going to put a more coherent video together specifically for this semester course than what I'm going to point you to here in a moment for the getting started. So you can wait for that. Should be out sometime tomorrow. Or you can go to these old videos here that are from the course last year, but following those videos might be a little bit confusing. So let's just get started with this right now. We're in the OneNote, and if you're seeing this video, then you've already received a link to the OneNote folder, accessed it, and found this video, which should be under this tab here. And here are the notes that more or less correspond to this video and other week 1 videos. And so let's just get into it. So this course, first things first, again, I'm Scott Graham. I'm your instructor. This is an entirely online course this semester. Last time I taught it, in fact, the only other time I taught it so far, I had both in-class sections and online sections. And so the in-class sections, I simply recorded all my lectures, basically kind of as a screencast, and posted those as videos for the online students. And I certainly find that it helps to have an audience when doing my lectures. So I'm sort of feeling my way around this producing videos without having an audience in front of me. And we'll just kind of see how that goes. At any rate, my email, scott.graham@dsu.edu. Be sure if you're contacting me about the class, anything about the class, put square brackets CSC-314 close square bracket in the subject line to make sure I don't miss it. And I'll also say, don't hesitate to email me questions, especially as we get into this stuff and you're working on homework, you're getting stuck, whatever. Email questions. This is our primary mode of communication, is through emails. So don't hesitate, don't delay when you get stuck. Send me an email. Worst case is you figure something out on your own a little bit later, and then you can send me a follow. Please do, in that case, send me a follow-up email and say, hey, I figured it out, so I don't end up spending a lot of time trying to answer your questions. So, but don't hesitate to email me any questions you have at any point where you get stuck with the material in the course or get stuck on an assignment or anything like that. That's definitely the best way to get help. The other thing I'll add in here is include as much information as possible, with lots of exclamation points. What do I mean? Screenshots of error messages, attach program source files, And, you know, kind of step-by-step explanation of what you're trying to do and what happens, etc., etc. The more information you give me in an email where you're having a problem getting stuck, the better as far as getting an answer quickly. And here, along with screenshots, actually not just of error messages, of your program, of attempts to run the program, showing what happened, anything else that might be relevant. Basically, you know, go wild with screenshots. It's very easy to get a screen capture and copy and paste that into an email message. So why not? The more information you give me, the more likely I am to have an answer for you as soon as I get your email and read it and respond. If you don't send all this information with your first email asking a question, then basically my first reply is going to be to ask for this stuff. So, and if my reply doesn't come for 6 hours or 12 hours or the next day, and then you don't reply to me for hours or the next day, then it, you know, the turnaround time takes just that much longer before you get an answer to whatever problem you're having. So please give me maximum amount of information about whatever's going around. Err on the side of too much information rather than too little information to maximize your chance of getting an answer sooner. Okay, so the next thing about the class is the textbook, and about that I want to refer you to the reading tab. And you can follow this link right here and it takes you to it, but that's just this tab right here. And the reading tab currently just has a link to the textbook right now, which you also would have found in the syllabus if you've already read the syllabus. But if we follow that link and I bring that window over here where you can see it, here's the website that brings you to. And right here is the link for the book itself. So you can just click that. It's a free PDF file. And it's a decent textbook for purposes of this course. Kind of no frills. It doesn't have a lot of padding. It just gets right to the point. So it's not a huge amount of reading by any stretch. And I think it's about the best option we have, especially for free. And I know textbook prices are usually insane, so I would rather have you not fork out a lot of dough for a book you may never use again beyond this class anyway. So, but if you do prefer a physical copy of the book, they do have a link here where you can purchase a physical copy. And if you're not a native English speaker, they have several other languages translated here. So you have those options as well. They do also, from this website, have links to sample code and so forth related to the book. So take advantage of the resources here. I'm probably not going to use much, if any, of this sample code in my class, but in your reading and wanting to follow the examples, experiment, learn, and so forth, you may find this useful. So so far so good. That's the textbook. And moving on then. The syllabus is now, you have the link from the D2L page, but you also have it here in the notes. You are responsible for knowing what's in the syllabus. You know, so read it. Okay. Actually, I think in the next video or the video after that, I will actually take the time to kind of go through the syllabus, as it kind of reminds me to talk about other things as far as, you know, how the course is going to work and so forth. Although some of that I have outlined down here. But I'm trying to keep this initial video quite short, so I'm going to skip going line by line through the syllabus for right now. But you should read it on your own. Now, the course structure. The way my approach to this course is hands-on learning. Basically, you're going to learn by writing lots of assembly language programs, and doing other, you know, related tasks. So in that sense, it's kind of a lab course. But the overall structure of the course, I'll be producing probably 2 to 4 videos a week covering the things you need to know, explaining what to do. Along with those videos, in order for you to earn kind of a classwork participation grade, you should, while watching the videos, you should be following the examples. You should be doing the same things I do in the videos on your own. Whether that's typing in an example program and so forth. And in some ways, this is much easier for you than it is for students in a classroom, since you get the freedom to pause my videos and to type in an example or whatever, or make sure you understand it as you're watching, so you can go entirely at your own pace. But that's the general idea. Watch the videos, pause as necessary, keep up with the examples, type in the example programs yourself, do the builds, run the commands, and so forth, and take screenshots at various points along the way to kind of just show that you are actually doing what's in the video. The most important screenshot would be, you know, the finished product. So if a video creates an example program, the most important screenshot would be to show your version of that example program at the end. But you should there's also intermediate stages where you should take screenshots. And the idea there is you take the screenshots, you paste them into a Microsoft Word document. For example, you can call it week 1 screenshots.docx for this week. Sometimes we might combine these into 2 weeks worth of screenshots or so forth. But basically, I will be putting up a Dropbox every week or so to upload all the screenshots up until that point. And so you upload that Microsoft Word document to the Dropbox when the appropriate time comes. So that's the way kind of the classwork participation grade works, and that's going to definitely have an impact. It could have a significant impact if you're all close to the next grade up. It could push you up. So kind of keep that in mind. The bulk of the course will be in the form of labs. These will be assembly language programming assignments mostly, but there will be some assignments where it's more a matter of analyzing the assembly language program than it is that I give you, rather than writing one of your own. Although that tends to be later on in the semester, not early on. Early on is pretty much going to be, I'll say, write an assembly language program that does such and such a thing, and that's what you'll do for the lab. There may also be some quizzes, midterms, and/or final exam. And that's to be determined and/or announced. The last time I taught this class, it was pretty much labs, and then there was a final project. And that may be what I do again this semester, but I just reserve the option to possibly actually have regular, good old-fashioned quizzes and midterms and final exams if I deem it necessary. So just I will announce these things in advance, so you know they're coming, and if I don't announce them, then you don't need to worry about them. But again, the labs are the focus of the course. I think last time around ended up being a total of 8 labs. Some of them were pretty substantial. I may break that out into more smaller labs, but we'll just kind of see how it goes. I tend to play things by ear, and I don't plan everything out from day one. So that's kind of it to just kind of give you an idea what to expect, what's coming. And I was going to launch into the getting started material here, which the first thing we need to do is get you set up with a Linux virtual machine, and then install the various packages in your Linux virtual machine that you're going to be able to need to do in the work for your course. And then we're going to create and run your first assembly language program. So these are the things coming up in the next 1 or 2 videos. Maybe it'll be a total of 3 videos depending on how I break them up. But that's what you can expect. Now, if you want to get ahead, what you can do is go to this tab, Old Videos, here. And Old Videos, these are actually all the videos I produced a year ago for this class. So these are all recordings of classroom lectures. And they're going to be a little rough around the edges, and a couple things to note. Don't ever confuse these videos with the videos from this class. So there's going to be dates mentioned and other things, assignments might be mentioned that are completely different in these videos. So these are here for supplemental purposes. All right, so some of you may find benefit from watching some of these videos on particular topics, and some of you may not. That's kind of up to you. I'm just putting them here for your reference. Now, this first video, and maybe even the first few videos, but especially the first video, does walk through setting up your virtual machine, installing Linux, and so forth. And you may want to go ahead and watch this to do that. Now, you might want to skip over where some of the introduction of talking about the syllabus and stuff, because that, there's little changes and so forth. But if you want to get started ahead of me actually publishing an updated version of this for this class, which should be out, crossing my fingers, I should have that ready for you tomorrow afternoon. But yeah, my throat is getting sore, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to cut this video short. The last thing I want to do is just kind of bring your attention to the notebook again itself and the various tabs. So we have the Notes tab that you've been looking at here. The Videos tab over here, this will be the current class videos. So once I have that video ready, the first video ready, actually this video is on here, so I guess you already know where you are, right? But the next video will be on this same page. We have the readings. I should say your initial readings are sections 1.1 and 1.2 of the textbook. I actually want to double check that. That's what I intended. Yeah. So sections 1.1 and 1.2 from the textbook are what you should be reading now. The labs tab here, this will be where there will be a page here basically for each assignment. And once an assignment is turned in, solutions will be published, and those will go under, be a sub page under the page for that assignment. So watch this space for lab instructions. Probably won't have the first lab instructions published until sometime this weekend. The resources tab, this will provide links to many additional other resources and so forth. So this will start to get fleshed in quite a bit in the next few days and first couple weeks. As people send me questions and run into any troubles, whether it's setting up your virtual machine, problems with Linux, whatever, this will kind of be an FAQ page for solutions to problems. I do actually kind of need probably just to copy over solutions from the previous class, and I'll be getting to that shortly. Here's the syllabus again and videos from the previous class. So previous version of this class. So again, These are here. If you want to try them, if you want to get ahead of the game a little bit, you can watch this. Worst case, you follow this and then maybe you redo it. But it doesn't hurt to become very familiar with creating a virtual machine and installing Linux. And once you get the hang of doing it once, it's only a few minute process to do it again. So so it's fine if you followed these instructions, mess things up a little bit. You could always do it over again. And the one thing, other thing I'll call your attention to is, of course, this was a year ago. The latest versions are what you want to be using now. And last year I told the students to install 32-bit Linux, but this year I'm going to say go ahead and install 64-bit Linux, and then we'll deal with, but even though you're installing 64-bit Linux, we're going to be working with 32-bit. We'll be working mainly or entirely with 32-bit assembly language. So, and if you wanted to, you could create a 32. You could download both 32-bit and a 64-bit Linux and create two virtual machines, one for 32-bit, and you could do most of your 32-bit assembly language work in the 32-bit system if you wanted to. Should not really hurt much of anything, but I'm going to be doing all my examples and so forth this time around in a 64-bit version of Linux, even though we will be doing 32-bit assembly language. We might briefly look at the 64-bit assembly language, but really 64-bit assembly language adds a bunch of stuff and a little bit of extra complexity, but it doesn't really teach you anything new. Ultimately, if you went on to do assembly language for anything in your career, if you actually worked with assembly language for any reason, you would end up needing to kind of refresh your memory, and you might need to learn a new syntax and so forth. So the purpose of this course is to lay a foundation, not for you to become a master of any specific assembly language. And for the purposes of laying down a foundation, I think the 32-bit assembly language is the best choice, and that's why we're going with that. And that's also what the textbook focuses on, so it's probably a good idea for me to be teaching you the same things that are taught in the textbook that I'm asking you to use. So so it's a little bit, if you want to look at these videos, it's a little bit of use at your own risk, and make sure you don't get confused by anything that was only applicable a year ago. So you got to be prepared to pay attention to that sort of thing. But these things will be different from what I do in the current videos, so you may find them to be a good supplement to the new videos. All right, my throat is really scratchy and sore, and I'm exhausted. So rather than try to go further with this tonight, I'm going to put this video out there, send the welcome email out, make sure that you have access to this notebook, and then hopefully after a good night's sleep, I'll be able to put together a good solid getting started video to get you set up with all the software you need, and we can take it from there. Until then, this is your assembly language instructor signing out.